Welcome to the late one with myself, and I have Mr. Dante Lee and Mr. Irvin Lee. I hope you can hear me very well. I'm hearing some
Yes, we
feedback.
can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. That's all like Barack Obama. Yeah. Yes, we can. Okay, good. But ladies and gentlemen, listen. I wanted to keep abreast of what is happening in America because at this time now, as you're aware, with the whole uproar due to the police brutality and the killing of Mr. George Floyd, Sir George Floyd, who passed away yesterday. So the funeral was yesterday, and it was a beautiful ceremony. One of the things that I wanted to do at the same time was to somehow get the American experience and to hear from Americans on the ground what it is like. Because we can hear a lot of the hurt, the frustration, and with the demonstration, because people are somewhat feeling it. We may sense that we know it, we may not understand it. But at the same time, in the United Kingdom, many people are also feeling it at the same time because we have seen the massive outpouring of grief, outpouring of anger. We have seen statues also being thrown to the ground. And therefore, it's a massive uproar in Lebanon, all over the world, even in Jamaica as well. In Jamaica now, people are actually saying it's not just about race, it's about police brutality at the same time. So that's very interesting. So the whole essence of Mr. Floyd as somewhat captured. And one of the things also what I found about Mr. Floyd is the fact that he wanted to be a judge. And interesting that he wanted to be a Supreme Court judge. Because at the same time, while he did not live that life leading up to being a Supreme Court judge to change justice system, but his life now is breathing, So therefore, I've got Mr. Dante Lee and Mr. Irvin Lee. Dante Lee is a gentleman which I've met just recently, and the whole purpose of him coming on the show is about the fact that we were going to talk about coronavirus, the fact that he had an experience whereby he was showing the symptoms of coronavirus, COVID-19, and they did not want to actually test him. And he can correct me on that when he tells his story. As a result of that, his father, Mr. Dante Lee, the Undiscovered Artist, is that correct, Mr. Lee? The Undiscovered Artist? Yes. Actually wrote a song called the Rona Song. Well, by the time we were ready to do the interview, we also had the whole issue with George Floyd. Then he wrote another song, which is called the I Can't Breathe, which I was playing earlier. But many years ago, during the Katrina, he wrote a song about Katrina as well. So without further ado, I'll let the gentleman introduce himself and say, how are you? Good evening, or good afternoon. It's what, 1 o'clock? Look up to 1 in California?
Yes, 1 p.m. here. Good evening. Good afternoon to you as well. Yeah. Good evening.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. If you guys can sort of tell me your perspective now as to what it is like in the United States, in California, wherever you're from. Is it California? Am I correct? California?
We're in the San Diego, California area. Yes.
Mr. Lee, tell us what it is like there right now in America from your perspective and the whole aspect with the recent uprising.
Well, pretty much what you see on the media. It's definitely, it started out like any protest. I guess that they complain about the issues at hand, but it's turned into one of the most effective protests that's ever been done from what I've been hearing the media say and even some of the experts. So it's turning into a protest of change. One's actually creating change. I've never heard that before, and since I've witnessed all of them in all my generations. Since I've been around, and so this is the first time I've ever heard change taking place and change being offered during the protest. So and it's about time, I guess. Sooner or later, George Floyd seemed to have, unfortunately, his death. He had to die, but it seemed like his death has made the change that they've been crying out for decades.
Yes, yeah. And Dante.
Yes.
And your perspective on
My perspective. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's I've seen many of these types of protests. This is not the first time that a person of color has been killed by police
or mistreated by police. But yeah, this is definitely different. It's a lot of change that's coming out of this. It's a lot of new understanding that's coming out of this. And it's, again, it's very unfortunate that somebody had to die for this to happen. But really, people have been dying for quite some time now. I think what makes this a little bit different is how symbolic it was. Well, one, that it was caught on camera in broad daylight. I think that really helped the situation. And on top of that, the police, what they did it in a manner whereas they seemed to think that what they were doing was acceptable and okay.
Yes.
That exposed a problem there. But in addition to all of that, it was just like it just kind of tipped the scale a little bit. I think people were already very frustrated and disappointed with race relations, not in this country, but around the world. And this just kind of tipped the scale and took things to a new level.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back. We just set the stage for that. We're going to come back and talk a bit more when we get into the song I Can't Breathe. But I want to talk about the whole purpose of why we were going to do this interview initially, until it was overtaken by recent events with the demise of Sir George Floyd. With coronavirus, it was an issue whereby you were denied a test. And as a result of that, it inspired your dad, Mr. Lee, to write the song Corona. Can you tell us what happened and what is your story in regards to COVID-19 as a Black man as well? I need to emphasize that, yes.
Yes, absolutely. So back in March, I began feeling the symptoms of the COVID-19 virus, which was specifically shortness of breath and difficulty breathing. This is something that I had never experienced in my life. I don't have any underlying health issues. I don't have asthma. And overall, I'm very, very healthy. But I began experiencing basically, as I mentioned, difficulty breathing.
Yes.
And it happened for like 3 days, but it was intermittent. But I think that fourth day, it was constant. I woke up with shortness of breath, and it was very, very constant and a little bit scary feeling. So I decided to go ahead and go to the emergency room at the nearest hospital and get diagnosed and get treated. But when I arrived there, I was accepted and admitted, and I was even examined, but I was denied a test. I was basically told that I did not qualify for a test. I was also told that I was not sick enough to get it. So basically, I was sent home with no treatment, no prescription, no answers, nothing. And that was very frustrating for my family. I live with my wife, my parents, they live nearby. And they were, anxious as well about what was going on. All of us were disappointed and also confused when I came back home with no answers to any of those questions.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the next question is this now. Did you have COVID-19?
So I never got tested for it. So
you don't.
But those symptoms continued. So even after going to the hospital and then being dismissed basically from the hospital with no answer, I continued to have shortness of breath for at least another week. And again, this is something that I never experienced in my life. Yeah. So I decided to go ahead and do some form of self-quarantining and then just kind of minimize my contact with other people and just make an extra effort to use hand sanitizer and always wear a face mask. And then obviously my case was a happy outcome because I'm still here talking with you right now.
Yes.
But I think what was frustrating was to hear other similar cases on the news of people of color who had the same symptoms, went in just like I did to get tested, were denied a test, and then they later went home and died. Wow. And that happened maybe more than 10 times, at least the ones that were reported by the media.
So tell me now, so as a result of that, you felt that you were somewhat, what should I say, victimized or racialized by virtue of the fact that you did not get the test?
I feel like when you're a person of color, the the racial part of things is always an element. But I also feel like that it could have been that these hospitals simply were not prepared, maybe did not even have any tests, maybe only had a few tests and were being extremely selective in who would get a test.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't make any accusations or allegations, but yeah, I mean, I do believe that, you know, race is always going to be an element when you're a person of color.
So turning to Mr. Lee now, you were inspired to write this song, Corona. What inspired you?
Well, like he said, he went to the doctor. See, usually when you go to the doctor, you know, I don't care if they misdiagnose you, they give you tests and they give you some prescription and send you home. So when somebody comes to the hospital and say they can't breathe, and you refuse them, you know, and you send them home with nothing.
Yes.
You know, no diagnosis, no medication. You know, even if it's the wrong diagnosis. I mean, people usually hospitals are quick to, you know, give you tests and give, you know, and like I said, some sort of diagnosis. So if you can't breathe, that's a serious symptom for anybody. You come to the hospital and say you can't breathe, you're having difficulty breathing. So, and then you're talking about somebody who's never, you know, so like me, I've never had a condition where I couldn't breathe. So I can relate to that. So my son has never had it neither. So he knows something wrong, and we know something's wrong, you know, because he doesn't have any pre-existing conditions. So to come back, you know, with not knowing nothing, you know, and in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, you know, and the media already, you know, showing, you know, stories that, you know, that are similar to the one we're experiencing and the bad outcome of some. So, you know, all over the place, you know, because like I said, I mean, we're definitely thinking the worst, but at the same time, you know, it's different hearing about it on the media and living it, you know, personally. So it was confusing. And like you said, it continued on for a week or so. So, you know, that's where we were at that time. We were all dealing with that reality, you know, and the only thing we had during that time was prayer. So we prayed, you know, during that period, you know, and, you know, and me and my son, we're into, you know, health, you know, so, you know, he was, you know, doing his health thing, you know, and because we do health, we do have a, you know, we do have a understanding of, you know, of how to take care of ourselves and how to treat our immune system and all that kind of things, so, which is something like everybody wouldn't have. So that benefited, you know, so, you know, you just eat more of the right things, you know, and things that are even more potent, you know, to help you with your immune system. So that's basically what he did. And we as a family, as he quarantined himself, we prayed. And that's where our energy was and where our focus was until finally, you know, he started recovering and I was able to shift my energy and focus somewhere else, which then turned into, you know, my son was the one that suggested the song. You know, I hadn't thought nothing about it, you know, so, and so when he suggested it, that's how, you know, that's how it began. It took a few conversations to make it happen. It was a good idea from the onset. It's just that, you know, normally I don't sing. Yeah, you know, normally, yeah. And then because of the COVID-19, you know, I didn't have access to some of the singers that I work with when I'm writing a song. So the way this was going to happen was me singing it. And so my son spent a lot of time with me to sing it, you know, which was something I hadn't planned on. I hadn't planned on doing any more singing, you know, at all. So that's what happened.
Okay, it's interesting though, and this is this is the first time I actually linked these two songs together on a principle, which is I Can't Breathe, because Dante, you couldn't breathe. You're having difficulties in breathing, isn't it? Right? Having difficulty in breathing, and at the same time, so that song, Corona Song, dealing with that issue to sort of highlight the whole plight. But then right after that, with the whole George Floyd thing, you end up writing this song called I Can't Breathe. But I want to go further. I want to go back further with you, Mr. Lee, because what I understand is that you're a songwriter, producer. You call yourself the Undiscovered Artist, born and raised in Washington, D.C. area, African-American musician, was inspired to write a song. But give us more about your history and the whole concept of the undiscovered artist?
Well, I mean, the concept of the undiscovered artist is just representing, a lot of artists that have struggled all their lives and never, and never got recognition. And like I said before, I wasn't initially trying to be an artist anymore. I'd done a little singing in my early days, my early days, but I had moved on to just, writing and producing and working with other singers. So when it came down to me having to sing again because of COVID-19, when we thought about a name, I was, the first kind of concept that came to me was, a name that represented struggling artists, artists that have been struggling, and have never ever received their recognition for their talent. And I kind of fit in that vein. So, even though, I'm very thankful for, for the opportunity of my career of music, but like I said, I wanted something that represented, not just me, but so many artists and so much talent out there that gets lost in the shuffle, like everything else does in society, because of the way it's designed, between, money and opportunity, and that kind of thing. So, and not only that, a lot of what's important to artists is as they express what they feel. In today's genre, we're kind of caught up into what, doing what the market dictates and saying things the market dictates and being something that you're not, to have some sense of success. And that doesn't appeal to me neither, going out there saying a bunch of things that I would never say personally or speak out my mouth, or just to become famous. So that's where we are now. So, and I'm not an artist of that, of that caliber. So if I can't say what I'm trying to say, speak what I'm trying to speak, and I'd rather sit in silence.
So therefore you're the type of artist who is more grounded, not moving by the sways and on the whims and fancies of the money, as they say, whereby your soul has been sold to the enemy. Yeah. And it's the reason why the likes of Michael Jackson, Prince, at the end of their career, they're trying to get back their rights to their music and all those sort of things. I want to ask you these guys these questions, and Dante, I understand that as well, you are someone who is, and I say what it is, you are a blogger, online marketer, you own some key platform, blackbusiness.com, blacknews.com, blackhistory.com. I want to ask you guys this question. What is it like living in the United States of America at this time as black men?
I think life,
go on. Sorry, please. Yeah.
I think life in the United States is exactly what you see on television. When you look at the media, even when you're looking at television programs, and also when you're looking at movies. There are many professional African Americans that have become successful in their careers and as entrepreneurs. But there's also still the element of poverty and oppression and struggle and low-income communities that don't have the resources that they need when it comes to education, health, and anything else that may be needed. Probably the same case that's going on in England. And I think really, when you look globally at any Black community in any country, you're going to see those elements. And then you always have some element of discrimination. And of course, racism or institutional racism, or some form of not being included, some form of having to reach a higher standard than your white counterparts. I mean, I think life as a person of color is pretty much the same no matter where you are in the world.
But at the same time, you can see with one's ambition can take one through at the same time with the struggles. Is that correct?
I would say so.
Yeah. Mr. Lee, Father Irvin, what is it like? I mean, you're being much older. I was going to say you're being Black all your life and you've been American all your life. You've seen many things because you wrote that song Katrina, the Katrina. If you go back to the Katrina, I mean, you mentioned that you are undiscovered artist because you're not swayed by the money. You go by what you go by the soul. You go by the soul. So
Right.
through the Katrina period and these songs, and we're going to talk about the I Can Breathe song after. But what is it that you see that challenge you, that inspires you, that you touch on the Katrina and different things, and your perception or knowledge of America now, especially with the young people?
Well, I mean, I think when you put, I always think of it this way. When you put, so I was talking to a guy who done a lot of time in jail decades ago, friend of mine, and he had done about 19, 20 years. And when he came out, the world seemed big to him.
Yes.
It seemed gigantic. It seemed overwhelming, and that's how I look at Black people. We're in this little box, and we get used to it. And we learn to survive in that box, and that, we learn to live in that box. We are survivors. So, we take what we have and what we don't have, and we survive. We're never far from poverty. I don't care how much success we have, because it can always, at the least, it can be taken from you at any time.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. So it's all like Katrina, and then we get our reminders. So, and every so often we get our reminders that we're in this box, because after a while we get so immune to it, because that's what we know. That's what we have. That is our lives. That's like somebody spending a lifetime in a prison. That's it. That's all he knows. Where we are, and even though some of us rise and to a certain levels of, success, it doesn't mean a lot, because, if somebody doesn't, what happens to somebody who becomes a celebrity, if you are known and they can recognize you when they see you in the street, you may miss out on being mistreated. But but we've all examples of many who weren't recognized, in the street, and then and they were just, so like I heard a Black officer say 2 days ago when they were asking him, he said, well, they asked him, how does it feel to be a Black cop? He says, well, when I'm in my uniform, I feels great. But he says, but I can tell you stories that when I'm not in my uniform, that I've been, treated like a Black man, because I'm, so I'm gonna say it again, we're a Black man first. And what we do, we have our reminders. Katrina was another reminder. When that happened, if you had forgotten how bad it was for you, once again, look at Katrina. It was televised. You would have thought Black people were on Mars. When they couldn't reach him, they couldn't give him. They couldn't get there. Meanwhile, the media was coming in and out of there every day. Yes. Every day, it was there. But the resources that they need, they couldn't get that to them. Like I said, so my thing is, we get our reminders, and then we get. And so what happens is we're constantly getting reminders, so we can maintain our our status. But then we get these reminders that are just shocking, like Katrina. And then, like you said, this ain't the first person to die on the street. But finally, we get a reminder. But finally, we get this drastic reminder again with George Floyd. So so we're constantly being reminded, of who we are and where we are. And it doesn't matter how fast time's moving, how much technology, how much is advanced. Don't get me wrong. So it's a lot better for us than it has been. But we're a million miles from how it should be. So, and will we ever get there? I just think we get trinkets. We'll get better, but I think it's it's just so much hate in the world. Against against Black people and minorities. So I don't ever seeing it. Us being where we would like to be, but. I do see things getting better here and there. But evil is evil. People hate is hate. Hate is something you can't fix hate. There are people who are going to hate you, at a level that makes no sense, but except to them. And they're there. And right now, they're being stirred up by this George Floyd situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, they're being stirred up.
That's good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined by Mr. Irvin Lee, Undiscovered Artist, who wrote the song, the Corona Song, and also the song, which is I Can't Breathe, which I've been playing in my car a lot, and also Dante Lee as well, his son. And we're talking about getting a perspective in America. And of course, let me ask any questions that you want to ask, and also please share the video as well as we go on further to the next level and the next segment. With the whole thing now with the funeral and what happened to Mr. George Floyd, and that powerful song you wrote. I mean, you saw me playing it. I don't know if Dante showed you me playing it in the car and driving. And it has been very infectious with people. People are stopping me sometimes and say they like that song. But someone said to me, why are you playing that song, I Can't Breathe? We can breathe. And as you know, I won't tell you what I said to the person, but what's your feedback with that song? And then at the same time, just like I asked you the reason why you wrote the Corona song, the reason why you wrote the Katrina song, what inspired you again to move swiftly, very swiftly? I think it's about 20,000 views since I saw it today, and you just recently done it. What made you move swiftly to write that song, Mr. Lee?
Well, once again, you know, we talk about not having songs, you know, like I say, I grew up in a period where, you know, we had those kind of songs and spoke on, you know, issues, you know, that were going on at the time. So once again, you know, I was touched like everybody else. I mean, when I saw the video, so I mean, more than touched, you know, you felt the pain. You actually felt, I'm hurt by what I'm looking at, you know, I'm watching it, you know, and I'm not in disbelief, you know, I'm just beyond, I can say I'm just beyond what's going on. I'm like, you know, and it's almost like outside of your body experience. It's like, what, you can't believe you're watching something like this in broad daylight being filmed. And there's so many opportunities for this cop to get out of this situation. There's so many times that he could end this, you know, and as you watch it, you see, this careless act, being performed. And it's almost like nobody, that's what I focused on. Nobody watching was able to stop it. Yes. This wasn't like a brief situation where something happened so fast, where, it wasn't, you couldn't have stopped it. So this could have stopped, but yet it wasn't. So anyway, so I'm just touched, about it in so many ways. Again, as a Black person. So immediately, I, began to write because, I knew there wouldn't be, a song talking about it, maybe at the level that that it should be. Yes. So that's it.
And Dante, as a young man, your perspective as to the future of what you see America to be, because I was watching a video, I don't know if you see it, it's been going around in circles. There is a 31-year-old man, a 45-year-old man, and a 16-year-old boy. The 45-year-old man and the 31-year-old man is screaming at each other, saying that they're angry. They're not having a go at each other, but they're angry, frustrated, and you can see they're burning up inside, like saying, we keep singing this, we keep singing Kumbaya, what's going to happen? And the younger guy, 31, said, you're angry, I'm angry. They grabbed the 16-year-old boy and said, he's angry. And the 31-year-old guy is saying to the 16-year-old boy, you need to go home. You can't be angry. You need to change. You need to make that change. I've seen a lot of the hurts from videos. Some people are saying, just burn up the place, just go crazy, just mash up America. Who cares, Dante, what do you, in your perspective, and as a blogger and as a person who's worked with successful Black people, because I've seen your website as well, and I've seen the people that you're promoting. What's your vision and your hope for Black America and America?
It's hard to tell because, unfortunately, history tends to repeat itself. And, it's true that this particular case of George Floyd has sparked a lot of change. But this isn't the first time that this has happened. This has been going on since before I was born. And there's, there have been other forms of change that have been sparked, but didn't necessarily resolve this problem. But ultimately, like if we're going to answer the question, ultimately the change that needs to be sparked, and part of this is going on now, is that more money and resources need to be invested into communities where low income people and people of color live. Because at the end of the day, that's the ultimate problem. We're disadvantaged.
Yes, yeah.
And we're constantly running behind trying to catch up. And then, there has to be a change in the overall perspective. I mean, there are some people who still believe that a person of color is just simply not equal, doesn't have the same rights, doesn't deserve the same type of fair treatment. So like I think that this case with George Floyd has exposed, and even with the coronavirus, there's videos on YouTube and footage on Facebook that show that the way people of color are being addressed when they're protesting and or when they're just at the beach, right, with this virus going on, that they're being aggressively approached and sometimes aggressively attacked. And then when they show white people or people who are not of color in those same situations, they're being approached, but in a much peaceful way. They're being they're casually being asked to wear your mask or to leave.
Yes.
When it's a person of color, it's aggressive. And there's even been cases of arrests shown on YouTube and such, whereas, same situation, a person may have been committing a crime or may have been at fault, but the white person is peacefully arrested. The black guy is like thrown to the ground and in a chokehold, So obviously there's some kind of reflection there that mentally we're not viewed the same. Again, this is not a new problem. This has been going on for centuries. So like in the future, I mean, I would hope that things would change. But at the same time, like my dad mentioned, I think when hatred is embedded in your heart, I think that's difficult for people to remove from their hearts. And I think that's kind of why, like my dad, and I'm always suggesting to him to write songs on these topics, because I know, we both know that music penetrates people differently. And everybody listens to music. And music has in the past created unity between anybody, any types of groups of people. Even in the past, like my dad mentioned that he grew up listening to music that had a positive message and that also spoke about the struggle that it was going through. So if you look at artists like Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder or even Bob Marley, these were artists who released songs speaking about struggles that affected everybody, but mostly people of color. And as a result, it created unity, it created peace, it actually brought people together. And I think that's kind of the role that we can play in at least trying to help bring some type of solution to the problem.
There's a question which is asked by someone, and that is, you said it, Mr. Lee, that you've seen this already where things happen, but it is to see how the change happens. The Rodney King, I remember the Rodney King, I think I was in between traveling to the UK or whatever like that. Somebody saying, why do you think then the George Floyd situation has touched so many people to evoke a movement for change? Because there have been, somebody was saying, what do you think the changes have been? And there have been some lists of immediate changes which are happening. But why do you think this has touched so many people based on your experience and your knowledge of America and your knowledge of the historical killing of Black people by police? Why has this one evoked a movement for change so powerfully?
Well, I think this is clear. I'm clear why this is different. Because there's one element here that did not exist during all the other killings, and that's social media.
Yes.
So social media is the key, is the platform, because social media allows people to organize in a fashion, in a way that's so much quicker communication, you know, and where years ago, organizing the protests that are going on now globally, it just wouldn't have happened. Not only that, globally, they wouldn't have seen the video.
Yes.
So social media is the platform that makes this difference, because now you're reaching everybody. When you see it and you are in tears, you can send it out to somebody within seconds and they're looking at it.
Yes.
And this continues all around the world. And so the pain, so the pain is being shared while the pain is still going on, not after the, not you know. So that's the key that connected all the dots this time around, is that we have a video and we can kick it out to everybody, and everybody can kick it out to everybody until it just reaches all the ends of the earth, and we can share this pain in real time. On a subject that we all can relate to, and on a subject that we've been crying about for centuries.
Yeah, I can agree to that. If I can speak on that briefly. Social media allows content like that to spread like wildfire. But also another factor in this is that it was actually filmed, and it was quality film. I mean, the people that were filming it were standing right there when it was happening. So these issues, so this happens a lot. This happens a lot, whereas an unarmed African-American man is killed by police. But we don't always see the footage.
Yes.
There is no footage. Sometimes the footage is from the police officer's body camera.
Yes.
And sometimes that doesn't get released. Sometimes it does get released months later after people have kind of forgotten about the case a little bit. As this was broadcasted, I mean, this was ultimately like it was almost being broadcasted live.
Yeah, it's almost, yeah.
As soon as it happened, it was on the internet and it was already circulating. And then I think this too makes one thing a little bit different here, is that it was a little bit symbolic with the knee, with the officer having his knee on this man's neck. And African Americans, specifically the NFL players in this country, have been silently protesting by taking a knee.
Yes.
And then here you have an officer who's taking a knee.
A serious game.
Yeah. So
his life.
So the level of the symbolism of taking the knee, and also the symbolism of him using his knee at the same time, it connected, isn't it?
That and George Floyd, right before he died, he said something else that was very common, that we've heard it many times before, that a person would say while they're in police custody, right before they die, "I can't breathe." That was not the first time that we've seen that, but it was shocking to see it again. This time in broad daylight with people around, and like if you watch the footage, you had some of these people who were recording, even though they didn't necessarily do anything to help, they did speak up.
Yes.
There were people, "Hey, you know, that's enough. He can't breathe. What are you doing? Let him go." Even the other officer can be heard in the footage saying, "Hey, should we turn him over now?" And then the officer with the knee on his neck says, "No, he's good, like this." And then when George transpired, you hear people in the footage saying, "You just killed an innocent man. You just unnecessarily took that man's life."
So everything was live before our very eyes at the same time. But
Right.
I'm going to ask another part of that same question. Evoke a movement for change. Do you think that this moment could be missed? The change factor. You think it could be missed? And we're back again to another situation later.
Well, I'm not understanding what you mean it could be missed.
Okay. As we mentioned a while ago, touch so many people's lives to evoke a movement for change, right? Everybody's talking about change. They want change. We have seen Rodney King, we need change. Gardner, Brown, change. That's the word, keep changing. Justice. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I'm asking a question. While it has attracted people all around the world, while everybody is in tune, the government over here is in tune. I think the Ghanaian president has also put up some monument in Ghana. Do you think the real change for Americans could be missed?
Well, I think you're going to get change. I mean, like I said, we can't, trying to figure out why, we didn't get change before. You got to focus on how you can get change now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes things that happen repetitively, over and over and over before finally, it resonates. So there will be changes. There's no question about it. We're witnessing changes happening here now. I mean, we have governors, mayors, allocating money, moving $150 million over here to resource, the communities. So there's going to be changes, and there's going to be some benefit from the changes. Yeah. But are you talking about a change that are you saying we're going to wake up one morning and it's all over?
I'm talking about things like accountability. We're talking about the legal system, whereby that is where I believe the raft of the changes should be to a certain extent.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, well, absolutely. You're going to see that. I think that's one thing you're going to see. You're going to see accountability. I think that's a change that favors in their side. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to see that. So there's going to be definitely more accountability, because that's the one thing that they can do. And that's the one thing that we can see if they're doing it or not doing it. So yeah, you're going to see accountability. You're going to see that stuff change, because that's already changed. They don't want another protest like this in the future, because of the ramifications. So my thing is, yeah, you're going to see the obvious. Yes, you're going to see the obvious. There's no question they're going to be more accountable. They're going to put more rules in, more rules in place. They're going to have, they're going to have training. They're going to be a little more on top of that. I don't think, at this point, I don't think nobody, supports, as a whole, killing Black people. It's just that, as a whole, it wasn't a priority. It was a priority. See, other than to us. So, the reason why we didn't change, because it just wasn't a priority. And, and we would holler and scream, initially, and then we would fade away. And so the good thing about this new generation and the platform that we have, they're not going to fade away. So that's a good thing. So I think you're going to see obvious changes. Yeah, you're going to see accountability. These guys are going to jail. I can assure you. These guys are going to jail. I mean, these guys walk. I don't want to be here if they walk. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be worse than Rodney King. Everybody's going to do a moment.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So these guys are going to jail, and even the guys that shot Ahmaud, Arbery, they're going to jail. So, and this is their way of saying we're on your side. And so, and they're going to use that. So they're going to make sure when they have a police officer who's that far off to the left, they're going to make an example out of him to say, hey, see, this is what we're doing. See, we got rid of him. So, and that makes sense. I mean, why not? So I think you're going to see that. And I think you're going to see overall the numbers go down, because the police are going to understand there is accountability now, and they're going to understand that there is a, immediate reaction if they're caught. The problem is, I think where the weak link is in this is video. The weak link is always video. So, evil and hatred will learn how to use the video to support, my body camera wasn't working. Everybody, you think about this killing, it was in broad daylight. And, when I think about this guy who was on his knee in broad daylight with a whole entire audience around him filming, and he had so many opportunities to get up, so many opportunities to recognize, well, this ain't the, in other words, even though I might want to do this ain't the time to do it, And so when you saw that, none of that connected to him, and how he sat there with his hands in his pockets. And even,
I want to stop you there. That's the point I was going to say. The level of comfort and ease and confidence he displayed with his hand in his pocket, the knees there, people filming. It's, what it reminded me of? It reminded me of to say, listen, you are what this is saying. No matter what you say, I'm the boss. I'm the top dog, no matter what. Yeah. It's like going all the way back into slavery. I've never directly experienced it, but there's stories that we have heard about how the mind, it is, what I see it as, Dante, and Mr. Lee, is psychologically getting an imprint in a black person's mind to say that no matter what, I'll be always on your neck. And
Yes.
no wonder Al Sharpton said something very powerfully. He said, I don't want anything for you guys. All I want is to get me off my flipping neck so I can breathe.
Yes. Well, like I said, I mean, and that's exactly what you saw. You saw a guy who was saying, you know, I'm good. I'm going to break you. You know, I'm going to, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It reminded me of somebody who had captured a lion or you know, some big animal. And you know how when they take a picture, they're sitting around their neck and they're, you know, and so it's like, yeah, I'm showing you that, you know, I'm going to psychologically break you down, you know, but at the same time, in this day and time with cameras, it's still hard to fathom, you know, what was he thinking, to the point where to the extent that he carried it out. But, but like I said, and that's just it. I mean, and so we got to look at it like this: as bad as it was, as horrifying as it was, if he doesn't do what he does, we're not here for change for the first time in centuries. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, George Floyd's death will his name will resonate, for a long time. And hopefully we'll have some bills and hopefully they'll have some bills and regulations with this, with his name, because like I said, without this happening the way it happened, because, like I said, Aubrey, was killed, a couple of months ago, in a careless way. There was a report on, once the video came out, and so, but I'm saying, so, and people were mad, and there were several killings after that, and people were mad, but George's killing, was the one that, like I said, set the flame on fire and got people up and got people, like I said, in a passion, they needed to be in to take action in a way that, like I said, that, hasn't been seen overall. I was listening to one commentator say, that they've analyzed these protests and they're the biggest in U.S. history. So I'm gonna end on that note.
Yeah. In my last leg now, I'm going to look at just someone who's in the States as well, Samuel Sanders. He said, I'm looking now at what is your personal way how you can make a difference in empowering the community, the Black community, because we all understand from the Black Wall Street, one of the key areas that we need to have our strength is in the Black economics, in the economical strength within ourselves. And what Sanders said, the reason, my opinion, as to why there's always been a struggle within our communities is simply a lack of awareness from birth and not having a systematic structure that sets us up for success. How do you see the Black community in positioning themselves economically for success and wealth? And as one of the ways forward in us personally dealing with our solutions. Dante.
Yeah, I can speak on that. I mean, ultimately, it goes back to what I said earlier. The communities where people of color live, where low income people live, need better resources. There need to be better programs. Also, the schools that we attend need to be better positioned to teach students all aspects of their own history, as well as teach them useful skills such as how to manage your finances. Like this surprises me a lot that like no public school anyway, teaches children how to manage your finances, your personal finances, how to manage your bank account, how to get a credit card, why it's important to pay your bills on time, things like that, or even how to start a business. I mean, entrepreneurship is extremely critical in these poor, disadvantaged communities because often we are the customer and not the seller. Others come in and set up shop and we end up becoming their customers. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the playing field should be level. It should be a level playing field.
Yes.
In addition, I wanted to comment on this. It's like like what you said, like a knee on the neck, it was literal in the case of George Floyd, but it's also something symbolic when you're talking about oppression.
Yes.
And I think that my dad's song about this topic resonated so well with people, because when he's saying, I can't breathe, there are instances where that can literally be felt. But you said someone asked you, well, you can breathe, you're breathing now, right?
Mm.
But yeah, symbolically, we can't breathe because it's like you're still getting the air sucked out of you when you try to take advantage of opportunities that are supposedly there for everybody, but yet still dealing with issues like discrimination and racial bias. So in a sense, we can't breathe, and in a sense, we can't take this anymore. We're frustrated, and I think that's what really tipped off this whole George Floyd thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't new, it wasn't the first time, but people just realizing like that's enough. And then it was so impactful that you see not just people of color saying that. So you see white people saying the same thing. You see white people with signs saying Black Lives Matter. You see footage of in countries like Syria and they're in England. And also I saw footage in Korea with Koreans holding signs saying Koreans for Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
So it's like, nobody likes to see injustice in any form or fashion. And when you see enough of it, you just get to that point where you've had enough. And I think that's why we were actually already working on a song like this prior to George Floyd being killed. But when we heard about that incident, we had to incorporate some of the elements into the song because it's a global message that everybody needs to hear, and it's a global voice that everybody can resonate with that voice.
In one of the empowering factor there, Dante, you got blackbusiness.com, blacknews.com, blackhistory.com. Just sort of shed some light because people I always like to, at the end of my show at least, for persons to see some positive, empowering message. Tell us about blackbusiness.com and a bit of what you do. Otherwise, being a blogger and online marketer and traveling, you speak 3 different languages, but you need to go to Jamaica to learn Patois and make it 4 eventually. I'll invite you to.
I'll put that on my list. But yeah, I started a company 20 years ago as a blogger, as a journalist, as a digital marketer.
Yeah.
And primarily what I do is help present positive information to the African American community and you mentioned those 3 sites, blacknews.com, blackbusiness.com, blackhistory.com, are tools that I use as my own platforms to make sure that the untold stories are being told. So unfortunately, we still live in a world today where most of the mainstream media coverage about people of color tends to be negative. And yet there are so many positive stories out there. There are so many successful entrepreneurs and other stories that are just often untold, or maybe they're told somewhat, maybe they're told on some local news station, or maybe mainstream media will briefly mention it, or it'll be found in some obscure section of their website. But I wanted to bring those type of stories into the forefront to empower people and to also educate them about who we really are. And then, of course, my platforms also provide people with the opportunity to market to this audience. So African Americans, many people don't know this, have an annual buying power of $1 trillion.
Yes.
This is a valuable market for Black entrepreneurs and others who are interested in reaching this market to reach these consumers.
And you definitely need to tap into as much as possible. That's
Absolutely.
And Mr. Lee, on a final note as well, do you believe that the youths are somewhat like the conscience of a nation at this time? Because you can see how the youths have just been fired up. They're not taking it anymore.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to people. It has to be, it has to include everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's taking the lead. Everybody's included. You can't, exclude nobody. Those with, I think everybody should be contributing what they can, so at whatever level they can, and it requires that at all levels. So, so the youth should be doing what they're capable of doing, and in between should be making their contribution to the same effort. That's how change is. As long as you're moving in the same direction, harmoniously, or doing, we trying to reach the same goal. At one point, you conclude to something that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's not today's youth problem. It's been around for centuries. So so that my point is they're doing what they should be doing. They should be standing up because it still exists. It's still here. It hasn't gone away. And so nobody gets credit for this fight, even when we win, because it's a fight that's been our people have been struggling with and fighting for decades and generations. And so whoever's helping now, whoever's doing what they can now, whoever's speaking and saying what they should be saying and speaking now, are doing what they should be doing and saying what they should be saying.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, what you can do you want to find out more about Mr. Lee, is it your website, the Coronavirus, which is the best website that people can reach you at?
So there's two songs.
Yeah.
The Coronavirus song, to listen to it for free, to stream it for free, coronavirussong.com.
Yes.
The second song, the I Can't Breathe song,
yes,
ibreathesong.com. So we made it extremely simple. And you can also search on YouTube.
Yeah, people are familiar with the I Can't Breathe song because I've been playing it regular.
Okay, we appreciate you for that. Yeah,
and I've just put up the Coronavirus song there.com. Well, guys, listen, I want to thank you so much for availing your time. So share with us what is happening over there, but also to promote your music. Mr. Lee, what is your plan now to take the Undiscovered Artist to discover the artist? What's the next move?
Well, I had a plan, but it's constantly, evolving.
Yes.
Especially when the George Floyd thing happened, that kind of threw me off a little bit. Because like I said, we were looking at social songs that we should do that haven't been done. So we were talking about doing a song about that, about what was going on before that took place. So, I still can't watch that video, Yeah, I still, I can watch a bit of it, but within seconds, I can't watch anymore, so, I'm not sure what my plan is now. It's always evolving. The world's changing. I'm trying to, stay, I'm trying to stay in a place where I'm just giving a voice to my music. I'm not trying to be political. I'm not trying to, like I said, take no position. Yeah. I'm just trying to put what's going on in a song, so I'm trying to be neutral. So, and then you can, utilize what I'm saying through song, however you may see fit. So right now, I'm not even sure. I'm thinking at this point in time, and I'll soon come up, with a plan. But right now, like I said, that George Floyd thing still resonates with me heavy, and so but other than that, I'm not sure, but we'll let you know.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, and finally, from the UK to the US and to you guys, our condolences as well to your fellow American and our Black brother as well. And we stand with you right through from day one until forever at the same time. And as what Dante and I planned, we have some plans whereby we're going to be promoting some of his business partners on the platform here, because I found out, according to Dante, that many Black Americans don't even know that Black people are in the UK.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's a disconnect. It's a bit of a disconnect between I would say Black Americans and Black British. But yeah, ultimately we're the same and we have the same roots. We just happen to be in different countries. But yeah, we share the same type of challenges.
Exactly. So therefore, we're going to be connected more. And I believe the strength of us being connected, and the more united we are, the more strong we are in power. And I'm very proud. I believe we are on the stepping stone of something great as well for our people. And, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited amidst the sadness at the same time. I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Dante. And thank you.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight, and to thank so much. My doctor friend just said, which is my last word, thanks for sharing the African American experience with the UK. That's Dr. Burton. He comes on regular and talk about COVID as well. He's like my resident doctor, where he shares. He's also Jamaican background, all black as well. And as you rightly said, guys, we got quality of people around us. Quality. And that is something, that is why I've launched something which I'm doing weekly. And I'm sending messages to some black brothers to say, I need 5-6 pictures. I'm going to play the video after this, after close off. But it is just grabbing a black brother who I believe is excellent. All of us are excellent. Grabbing someone and just put their pictures up and say, Black excellence. Simple as that. Because I want to share some other images at the same time. As Mr. Lee said, certain images you can't look at, and I understand that. I believe as well that we should share other images of Black excellence as well, to sort of, get into the minds. Because one of the things that I'm seeing as well, ladies and gentlemen, is, and I did a talk this morning, it says the mind is being targeted. The mind is being targeted. The media, if you watch CNN, you get a perspective. If you watch Fox, you get a perspective. They're targeting our minds as much as possible. And that's what that guy symbolically was doing by wicked evilness, to get into our mindset to say, I'll always be on your neck. And we cannot have that. We have to breathe. Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. We appreciate you.
Pleasure is mine. And all the best in California there. And peace out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank also Mr. Lee, Irvin Lee, Dad, and Dante Lee as well. It's very interesting conversation, and I'm going to have more of this whereby we can actually share from the different, I'm in the UK, Jamaica, I'm getting different persons also share and to talk about what they're doing and to really empower us. I need, and it's very important that we can actually see different people as much as possible, what they're doing. Thank you for sharing us, which is Dan Murray Samuels. And I'm going to play a last video. And the video I'm going to play to close off is a video which I did with this gentleman named Mr. Who is it? David McQueen, and a powerful guy. We see persons every day, and we don't know. Coach, business coach, pioneer, leader, someone who actually goes out there and speak and to different business organizations, how they should think and poise and all those sort of things. Businessman, and I'm going to play this because I'm going to get more. And if you know any black brothers, just all I'm saying to them is send me 5 pictures or so of themselves, and then we can take it from there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this.
Shortly after, and while we began the pursuit soon appeared.
I don't know if you were able to hear that, but I'm going to play it again just to be on the safe side. Let me just play it again.
This is John Nicholson. I am pretty sure that this is a question that has been on your head.